So once again, we're entering a really annoying discourse around something that shouldn't even be an issue and should be fairly clear for anyone with half a brain. But today we're going to be talking about what constitutes a slur, what makes a word offensive for a particular group of people, who can say what is offensive, and of course this is all surrounding Vaush being permanently banned off Twitch and Hasan facing a 7-day suspension off Twitch for allegedly being racist against white people. The irony being one of these guys is a total white person and another person is a Turk who is clearly white passing, and most people would actually consider white anyway. But thanks to people like Destiny and his community and liberals poisoning the well on this discourse, it is actually translated into like mainstream news now, and now we're probably going to be hearing debates forever that the word cracker is just as offensive as any slur against racial minorities in white countries. So I normally promote all my social media right here, but I'm just going to talk about my Patreon quick. So recently I was thinking I'm going to change my little plug because YouTube actually has been pretty good at monetizing stuff, and then last Friday I get hit with YouTube messaging me saying I haven't rated my videos accurately lately, and as such they will not take my input when deciding whether a video should be monetized or not. Basically the way it works is for each video you rate your video's content and if it should be monetizable. I have rated every video I have done since October 30th until last Friday accurately, 100% accuracy, but then YouTube say over the last 90 days I've got 10 wrong. So essentially they haven't taken into account that I have basically been really good over the last 2 months, because a while ago I wasn't as good. So for example, I now have a video being reviewed which is literally just about the anti-SJW reaction to Cowboy Bebop, which I made yesterday and is nowhere near as problematic as so many videos I've had monetized in the past, but because of these new rules, they are just not monetizing it. And I honestly think this video will also be demonetized, and the even worse caveat to that is the more I get wrong, for example, I got it wrong yesterday and on Friday, the more they mark me down for the future. So not only are they punishing me because of this bizarre 90-day period, despite me monetizing my videos correctly, me now getting more wrong because they aren't taking my input into account as much is actually ensuring my score will get lower and lower. But I wanted to be honest with you, and if you want to support my work no matter what, please consider becoming a patron. Like I always say, I'm trying to build up as many $1 to $3 patrons as possible, because that's what you want for a sustainable Patreon, and that just gives me the freedom to cover stuff without constantly worrying whether YouTube will actually monetize my videos. And just like with this Twitch drama right now, it shows you how corporate platforms shifting their policies can drastically affect content creators' income. Because now on Twitch, you apparently cannot say a word that describes a food. So this whole drama started a couple days ago. If you haven't heard about what's happened, I'm gonna let you know. So Hasan tweeted, absolutely insane that Twitch banned 2 of my mods for using that word. One is black and the other is brown. Does Twitch actually believe it's a slur? And then the next day he said, folks, I'm live, addressing the drama. That's right, I'm white. Now, Destiny was already stirring the pot about this. So he was saying, to be honest, I don't really think any of this is a big deal. I just think it's funny that people who want to attack white people for saying the N-word in a friendly way will froth at the mouth screaming, you cracker, and then pretend their position is the moral one. The constant tired excuse of you can't be racist towards white people just sounds stupid to anyone who's not terminally online, and it's so unnecessarily divisive. It also makes your side look so stupid to anyone not 100% already bought into your position. I'll talk about this a bit later. And then Hasan was actually banned. Twitch partner Hasan has been banned. Yes, it's for exactly what you think it is, anti-white racism for using the term cracker. And then people were obviously like celebrating this on the right, and someone on Twitter, he tweeted out, the one time Twitch is consistent with their terms of service and he molds hard. Not even white, but Hasan being internally disturbed because he can't use race-specific insults is so weird. Even if it historically doesn't mean anything, it still makes people feel bad mentally. You shouldn't lose hair follicles because you can't insult others for innate features. You're legitimately mad because you can't insult someone for the colour of their skin. So not only was Hasan suspended, Vaush had his account straight up banned for also covering this stuff. I believe the reason Vaush was banned permanently, basically, and Hasan only had a suspension, Probably because Hasan is a bigger creator, but I think Vaush has actually been in trouble for stuff he's said before, because he's been banned for a long time off Twitch before recently. But then Destiny tweeting about both of them getting banned, responding to Nathan Grayson, who's saying that Twitch has suspended 2 popular political streamers for using the word cracker, which Twitch seemingly considers a slur. Destiny saying, you mean which everyone considers a slur? There's not really much disagreement there from any reasonable person. So I don't know why Twitch has started enforcing this stuff. There's 2 options. Either they have updated their algorithm to single out creators who use this word, or, which is more likely, trolls have been going on their videos and mass reporting the clips where they say this stuff. So on the Destiny subreddit, somebody posted, literally reported it 3 minutes ago and got the email he got banned for it. How hard is it just not to be racist? Just treat people like people. Proof, this tweet aged nicely. Email proof, there are no names in the email, we just got a report and banned. I wish Reddit would implement a topic edit button so I could fix my mistake. So obviously Destiny's audience absolutely hate both of these guys. And it's not surprising, Destiny has been really muddying the waters of this stuff. It is just so ridiculous. We're going to get into it. But Kotaku reporting on the origins of the word cracker. The term dates back to at least Shakespeare and was historically deployed against poor white people and immigrants by other white people. At some point in the last century, it also started to be used by black people against racist white people. Twitch's community guidelines bans any and all hateful conduct, but is ambiguous on what it does or doesn't count as this. We do not make our list of slurs public so as not to enable or facilitate evasion of this policy. Further, we take context into account when evaluating whether the use of slur violates our policy. Cracker being a bannable offence is so hilariously deranged, just placating the most fragile man-children in the world, who themselves know they're just feigning outrage over nothing. So I've even seen people like the Quartering, while celebrating this stuff, saying they don't find this word offensive. I don't usually like generalizations. Like before this Discord, I don't think you should be going around calling everyone any name just for no reason, but this word is really not offensive to me as a white person. It's just ridiculous to even say that. Now, it also shows how poorly people understand racism. I've spoke about this so much in the past. Racism is about this power structure formed since about the 1400s towards different groups that white people historically didn't like, and each one fit in a different place in the pyramid, where it is white Anglo-Saxon Protestants at the top, if you're talking to a Northern European. Then you have Mediterranean Christians as second, and then obviously you have black people right at the bottom every single time. This is what these people believe. Of course, the British and Northern Europeans thought the Spanish were below them because of their territories being colonized by like Arab empires and stuff like that. The Spanish thought they were the top of the hierarchy, so did the Italians. But it's about this power structure, and it mainly comes obviously from America. Who rules the power structure in America? The white Anglo-Saxon Protestants who immigrated from Germany and from England and from other places like that, who control this stuff. The same types of people who owned the plantations back in the day, but obviously it was also used to describe white people back in the day. Probably a classist thing used by the elitist whites and everything like that. But that's the thing. These words have meaning because they have power. Cracker in 2021 does not have offense to me because it's not part of a wider policy to dehumanize white people by another group of people who hold the positions of power. Why things like racial slurs against black people are way more offensive, because both they have a history of dehumanizing that person as an other, oftentimes like an animal, and it's part of a larger project of the ruling class in a place like America, who are made up of white people, dehumanizing this group for political gain. And you saying that to someone as a white person is backed up by so many other white people also believing in this stuff. And it reminds black people the country they're living in does not view them as equal citizens. Look who is the current president. Look who was the last president. Apart from Obama, every single president has been white. Most of them have been racist, including Joe Biden. It's showing you are being complicit in this system that dehumanizes these people. And of course, there are slurs for loads of different races and ethnic groups that the white power structure traditionally doesn't like. Now, I want to show people an example that a lot of you guys will have never ever have heard of because you're from America. And it is to do with Irish people in the United Kingdom, mainly in Scotland, but also in Northern Ireland. Basically, this rears its head mainly in football between Celtic, whose fan base are largely like socialists and also like Catholic and a lot of Irish immigrants, versus Glasgow Rangers, whose fan base are made up of loyalists, unionists, royalists, people who celebrate the Battle of the Boyne every year, which is a day celebrated in Scotland and Northern Ireland because it marks the start of the Protestant ascendancy in the UK, which saw Catholics as second-class citizens when William of Orange finally defeated James II and became his Protestant king that ensured Catholics were not equal to Protestants throughout the UK. Now, the Queen, who is the head of state of the entire country, is still the head of the Protestant Church, the Church of England. This same church which upheld this system of supremacy. Now, in terms of the words used to each other, the Rangers fans call the Celtic fans Fenians. This is a popular term that English people, Scottish people, even Protestants in Northern Ireland would call Catholics. The name Fenian was popularised during the OG Republican uprisings in the 1860s against the British. So just for some context for you, Fenianism embodied two principles. Firstly, that Ireland had a natural right to independence, and secondly, that this right could be won only by an armed revolution. The name originated with the Fianna of Irish mythology. Groups of legendary warrior bands, mythological tales of Fianna became known as the Fenian cycle. In the 1860s, opponents of Irish nationalism within the English political establishment sometimes used the term Fenianism to refer to any form of mobilisation among the Irish, or to those who expressed any Irish nationalist sentiments or questioned the Protestant ascendancy. The political establishment often applied the term in the sense inaccurately to the unrelated Tenant Right League and the Irish National Land League and the Irish Parliamentary Party, who did not advocate explicitly for an independent Irish republic or the use of force. The establishment warned people about perceived threats to what they saw as decent civilization. So powerful people, English people, people who were part of the Protestant supremacist power structure of the United Kingdom would call Irish Catholics Fenians, and it's obviously trying to dehumanize them, say they are not rational, say they are all inherently violent, a danger to decent, civilized values of the Protestant United Kingdom. So as someone with an Irish background, if someone called me a Fenian, like out in public, I'd find it like a bit bizarre coming from England, but it could happen in Scotland or Northern Ireland. And basically, as a term used against Irish people, it's a reminder to them that both the history of this country was awful to you, it still has a remnant of its colonisation of your people in Northern Ireland, and there's still elements in certain governments in Scotland and Northern Ireland that will not treat you equally because you have an Irish or Catholic background. So that word has power in terms of history and relevance because part of the power structure that existed back then to dehumanise Irish Catholics still exists today, embodied by Northern Ireland and the Church of England. Now, in response, just how black people are using the word cracker, Irish Catholics and Catholics in Scotland often call Rangers fans and Unionist Protestants, they call them the Huns, like Attila the Hun. It has no links to Attila the Hun. Basically, Rudyard Kipling popularised the term Hun to be used for the Germans and German militarism, and during World War I, British people often called the Germans the Huns. Now, for those of you who don't know, the British royal family is German and had to actually change their name because they had a German surname. So obviously the connotation with calling a Protestant loyalist, unionist, royalist or whatever is that they support the royal family. Now again, I don't like generalizations. Not all Scottish Protestants like the royal family. Of course, you see massive movements for independence these days. So it's probably not a good thing to go around calling everyone that, like they're complicit in the suppression of you. But you can clearly see here with the two words I'm describing to you, which one is more inherently offensive because of the power structure and because of the history. I'm not telling people to go out and call people Huns, but again, it's clear which is actually offensive based on the power of those words. So I just want to talk about this a bit more and the origins of it in terms of Glasgow Celtic versus Glasgow Rangers and going on the Celtic wiki. So lots of different stories and how this name came about, but it most likely stems from a number of Rangers players who were able to dodge the war effort in the World Wars due to the connections taking roles in the shipyards instead. Critics said that they were no better than the Huns. Used to actually be a term that Rangers fans also use themselves against Celtic fans at one point, but it didn't stick, it wasn't accurate. It was back then a commonly used slang term by people referencing their enemies. When tested in courts, it has not been found to be sectarian. When evidence is put forward, when John Guidetti was charged Scottish Football Association in 2015 for reciting the Huns Are Died song on Dutch TV, they couldn't find it sectarian, but punished Guidetti for attacking Rangers fans or making fun of them. So in terms of being used for the first time, ever wondered why and for how long Sevco fans have been called the Huns? From the Glasgow Star, October 1916. Not for the first time, we had the spectacle of Celtic cleverness and science antagonised by bashing, unblushing, physicalism, frightfulness appears to be the policy at Ibrox, which is the Rangers Stadium. Probably this explains the cry of some of the homeward-bound crowd shouting the results from speeding tram cars, Celtic 3, Huns 0. So going back to the shipyard bit a bit more, in 1912, Harland and Wolff set up a shipyard in Govan. They brought over workers from Belfast who would dominate the yard's culture. Wolff was German and World War I broke out in 1914 between Germany, Britain and France. The British propaganda machine referring to the Germans as the Huns. If, as was likely, Catholics were discouraged from applying for work in the yards, it's easy to see how the term for Germans was transferred to Govan workers with a German boss who supported their local Rangers teams. So I just wanted to use that example because I feel it fits this dynamic a bit better. Now, of course, it probably goes without saying, I think the slurs used against black people is far more dehumanizing than Fenian, for example, used with Irish people. Of course, there are some similarities there, but one is meant to completely other a human being, basically like they aren't human, they are animals. And of course, this dehumanization went hand in hand with their slavery. So that word is probably like one of the most offensive words you can say to someone, especially as a white person. But why I use Fenian versus Hun is to show you how you can have these two words which are often massive generalizations of people, but there is a word out of the two, like Fenian, which is far worse based on the history and the power structure that has existed in the UK for the last 500 years, and how it still rears its head in the UK time and again, especially where these words are still used in Glasgow and in Belfast. So overall, people just need to understand systems of power and oppression and how words are sometimes extensions of that oppression, and words used as a reaction to that oppression do not carry the same weight as the words used for dehumanization. This really isn't hard, and we don't have to have these massive conversations about it. And just to finish this, I want to talk about the Rangers fans trying to ban the word Hun and how this backfired. Campaigners argue the word, which is more commonly used in the endearing manner short for honey, is one of religious hatred and should be just as offensive as Fenian. The campaign also calls for pro-Republican songs to be banned because they are unacceptable and have no place in society. But someone uploaded a video, a former footballer at Hampden Park, on his Twitter account, which showed Rangers fans singing the sectarian Billy Boys Loyalist songs, which contains the lyric "Up to our knees in Fenian blood." You guys might know the Billy Boys from Peaky Blinders season 5 if you're American. So that's the type of people the Rangers fans and the Loyalists are often inspired by. But then in the same year, the word Hun not considered offensive by communications watchdog Ofcom. Hun was mild language and generally of little concern, Ofcom said. So we all know this stuff is ridiculous, and you guys might have clicked on the video thinking like, why do you need to make, I don't know, like a 25-minute video explaining this stuff? But I thought it would be important to show you guys, because I do see some liberals saying like, well, both words are offensive, so just don't say them ever. And they are both as offensive as each other. And that just is not true. Like I said, I don't generally like people using massive generalizations because I like nuance and everything like that. But I'm never going to pretend that words reacting to oppression are the same as words used to historically dehumanize by the powerful. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. I wonder if this video will get monetized. I'm not expecting it to. So another nice strike in my ratings. Probably make no money by the time I'm done with this month. Anyway, follow me on social media at the Kavernacle, Twitter and Instagram. Join my Discord and my subreddit to talk with my community. And yeah, check out my Patreon. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching.